Amazon KDP has been the dominant force for well over a decade when it comes to self-publishing, and there are a lot of people out there that believe it's the only option that it comes to self-publishing. But believe it or not, there are a ton of other publishers out there that will reach places like Amazon and beyond, and one of those includes Streetlib. And I had actually reached out to them some time ago, but they finally were able to get me connected with the head of US distribution, Julie Trelstad. Now, Julie comes with an extensive background in the publishing industry, not just self-publishing. In fact, we do a deep dive into that and Streetlib and what they have in store. The really cool thing that I like about Streetlib is you're able to publish all three iterations in print, audiobook, and ebook. So we're going to go ahead into a deep dive with Streetlib and talking with Julie Trelstad, the head of US distribution. Julie, this has been a long time in the making. I've been following Streetlib for a while now, so I feel like it's the perfect time to break ground. But before we do jump into things, share with me, what is Streetlib in an elevator pitch?
Streetlib? Streetlib is an online publishing platform that allows any author, any publishing company to upload their content into the web. We have contracts with 70 plus retail partners, our distribution partners like Amazon, Google Books, Apple, Kobo, Overdrive, and then like a lot of long tail small distribution partners who in turn get your books out to over 2,000 retailers. And the service we offer, what makes Streetlib unique is that we were in the ebook business, or Streetlib is based in Italy, and was in the ebook business before Amazon came in. And they started as a company that sold readers, like the actual reader devices. And soon realized that selling readers wasn't great if there wasn't any content. So then they became a content distributor. And originally, and it's not true anymore, but originally they managed the entire Amazon Italian distribution because they'd already built out the whole system for distribution with the retailers in Italy. But since that time, they've made a lot of partnerships all over the world. It is the largest, widest platform that you can get on. And I just started in January. I've been in publishing for 30 years, and I'm helping them build out their US market now. So we're really excited to be here.
Okay, so you kind of buried the lead there because you just said 30 years in the business of self-publishing. So what led you to Streetlib?
Well, I haven't been in 30 years in publishing. There was really no self-publishing when I started. Honestly, I started as an architecture student, and I ended up getting a job out of college working for an architecture magazine, which led to architecture books, which led to home building books. And I worked for John Wiley & Son, Reader's Digest. I did a lot of books on how to build houses. That was my thing. And I kept doing that until, a lot of these companies are out of business now too. Like when Amazon came in, the Reader's Digest books were meant to be the one book you needed to buy if you needed to fix your plumbing and your cabinetry and everything else. And once Amazon came and you could buy an individual book on any of these subjects, you didn't really need this big tome. And direct mail marketing wasn't working anymore with Barnes and Noble coming into every store. So people wanted to go to a bookstore, but they also wanted individual books. So I did that for a long time. And then I decided, I had this crazy whim in like 2006 that I wanted to run my own publishing company. Which I did. It was really before there were these digital platforms. But I had seen in action one of these print-on-demand printers, and I thought, oh, that's just so cool. I got to do that. But instead, I decided to go the other way. I went whole hog on print. I did this high production quality color books and card decks because I thought if it's all digital, you're going to want really special. And it was working really well until I sold a book to Borders. And I don't know if you remember what happened to Borders.
I remember Borders, yeah.
2008. Yeah, my big book and Borders all went down the tubes together. So that was the end of my publishing venture. And after that, then Kindle was happening, and I started working with self-publishing authors, but then joined Writer's House, which is a literary agency in New York City that represents like Nora Roberts and Captain Underpants and Stephanie Meyer and a lot of really big, along with a lot of other great authors. And I ran their self-publishing program, and I helped their traditionally published authors build their digital platforms for a while. But since then, I've been just working with authors and trying to figure out exactly where my position is in the industry.
Yeah.
I've looked at every tool. I've been fascinated with the technology in the industry. And when I had a chance to work with Streetlib, actually, I was calling them to solve a POD problem for one of my clients in Europe. And he's like, well, I can't solve your POD problem, but would you like to help me build American Streetlib? I said, yeah. So
wow, that's
it in a nutshell.
And the acquisition for them was stellar. So hopefully you stick around for a little longer, right?
Well, if we can get the users on the platform, I'll be here to help us develop. So
that's fantastic. Let's take a step back. You kind of gave a great overview of Streetlib and a little bit of your background with Streetlib involved as well. So tell me, what can users or authors or account holders expect when they go to Streetlib? What's the type of distribution that they can do? Because to my recollection, I think that you guys have everything covered, from ebooks to print books to audiobooks.
We do ebooks best.
Okay.
Number one, totally we rule on that one. We have good audiobook distribution, going to be excellent by the end of the year. That's the system that we're still building. But POD, we currently only distribute in the US to the KDP print on demand. In Italy, they have this amazing POD system that actually sends out orders to 30 some different printers.
Wow.
And you get really great print quality, a lot of choice, a lot of different options for printing. The industry, the way it's structured in the United States for on-demand printing is very different. So that's something we're working on developing. But I would say, we're absolutely awesome on ebook. And we don't only do ebook sales, but we also distribute into all the subscription services and a bunch of reading apps as well. So everywhere. Lots of different places you can put your books.
So it sounds to me like you guys are just starting to break ground with print books and audiobooks. Am I incorrect in saying that?
I think audio, we're awfully close. Print books is going to be a little bit longer. I think by the end of this year, we're going to have a really robust audio offering. You can distribute your audiobooks through us now. We don't have all of the platforms, but as I say, pretty soon.
What are the main platforms, if you can recall off the top of your head?
Well, for we're on Spotify. Obviously, we have a partnership with Findaway.
Oh, great!
So it's pretty much in parallel with that.
Okay, awesome. So when you're distributing, let's talk about royalties, because everybody loves show me the money.
Show me the money. I want to see it.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't we start it out with ebooks? What's the royalty structure for something like that? Are there any type of hidden fees or any type of stuff that we need to be aware of when we distribute through Streetlib?
Okay, yeah. So it's pretty straightforward. It's 10% on the list price of the book. So if your book is $10, Streetlib will take $1.
Okay.
But then, talk about hidden fees is we'll pay you whatever we receive from Kobo or Amazon. And a lot of times that is what we call an agency model. So they would be making 30%. So if we took $1 and then they take $3, we'll be, can you do the math for me? You get $6. So you get about 60% royalties on an ebook. And the good news is there's no limitation on, it doesn't vary if you price it at under $2.99 or over $9.99, you'll always get that same royalty.
A question for you then is, do you guys have like a native storefront, like a Streetlib storefront, where we could probably make the best royalty possible? Because with the 10%, 90% revenue split, that's pretty freaking awesome. It's quite unheard of.
Yeah. Yes. In Italy, if you speak Italian, you can use our direct to consumer. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We do. And I've tell Giacomo we want that in the US. So yes, you can do that. And they have an integration that allows you to put the books on your own website and sell them directly. as well.
Do you happen to recall what was the file size limitations? Is there anything like I should know of? Do I need to show up with an EPUB, or can I come in with a docx or any other type of like
You
RTF
can
files?
yeah. Oh, good question. You can use EPUB or PDF.
Okay.
And so, like, if you have a fixed width book, and by that I mean like a children's book with illustrations or poetry or manga or comics, you can put those on the platform using PDF. We also have a tool called Streetlib Write. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
Oh,
It allows you
yes.
to compose your ebooks, and that's free up to, I think, 5 megabytes. I'm not sure. It works for a small, text-only book is big enough for free.
Okay.
And the subscription is pretty reasonable. It's less than $10 a month to use that service to format your books.
Interesting. So Streetlib Ripe, I'm sure it's probably going to be something that's natively on the website then. Am I right?
It's a separate service, actually,
Okay.
and I think it's something. It's not like a one workflow where you just upload and it goes through Streetlib, right?
Yeah.
It's a separate tool that you use. We also, for pay, we have a full service option. Our ebook producers in Italy will build your book for you if you want us to do the formatting. We call it the concierge services.
Okay.
But we have that available if you just I don't want to look at it, just take it, do it for me.
That's super nice, especially I'm sure for a lot of, busy, people that don't have the time to figure that out and trying to grind it out is almost impossible. So for Streetlib Write, am I to understand that that's like for lack of better words, a word processing software? So I can literally write my entire book in Streetlib Write.
You could, but I would write it in Word and upload it to Streetlib Write and and use it for formatting. You definitely could. Like some of the other tools, like the Readsy tool, you could use it in the same way. But I would use it more as a formatting tool.
Got you. Very cool. Let's make the transition now over into print books. What's the royalty
Mm-hmm.
structure look like for that? And I think you briefly kind of touched on distribution, that there is a little bit of a restriction when it comes to the US, but you have massive reach over in Europe.
Right. You know what? I think it's the same as an ebook royalty where we take 10% because we
Okay.
only go through KDP. So I would say that might be subject to change as we make these deals with the printing in the United States. So I wouldn't use Streetlib for print right now, just not this year, next year.
Okay,
So,
perfect. If somebody's
but
in Europe,
there
though,
is
it
a
probably would make sense, wouldn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If they're publishing in Europe, and yeah, you'd have to look because the print price is a little more complicated because
Mhm.
the unit cost can be variable on how much it costs to print the book.
Mhm.
So I believe those are because of the way they print the books at multiple printers. It's not one flat price.
Right.
I don't think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's usually like some type of a base print cost. And then we start to figure out, okay, wherever it's distributing from, they get their percentage. You guys get the 10%, and then we probably get the 90%. So very
Yeah.
interesting. I'm super excited to see this roll out because having some alternatives is super exciting, especially in the world of print on demand.
Yeah. And audio, we have a different deal for that.
Interesting. We'll get to audio in
Yeah.
just a second here because I'm
Yeah.
just so curious about print books. So you've
Mhm.
got the distribution in Europe. What You have so many printers. You said 30 printers over in Europe. So this is quite the opportunity for anybody that wants to consider distribution there. What if I want to, say, order a proof copy? Do I have to first publish it, or am I able to, say, for instance, just test the waters and get a print proof, whether in Europe or in the US?
Oh. I always recommend, I work with a lot of clients on print on demand, and we always recommend doing print proof.
Mhm.
And no matter what, I would say, I think it would be challenging if you are not distributing in the Italian language to use the system in Streetlib,
Mm.
right? Yeah, and so for our US customers, it's really just the KDP process.
Yeah.
And yeah, we would recommend that you could order a copy from the back end as a print proof there. before
Nice.
you release it for distribution, for sure.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's been one of the limiting factors I've seen with some print on demand companies that, and I don't want to name any of your competitors at this point, that's just disrespectful, but they forcibly make you publish through their platform in order to get a proof. And I always just thought that was so backwards. And so I'm glad that you guys are forward thinking and knowing like, okay, you can get a proof before it gets published. So that way you're 100% certain that it's going to work out for you. Off topic, well, somewhat on topic still. Do you guys put a watermark on your stinking books when I order a proof?
I mean, again, we distribute, it would be coming from KDP.
Right.
So it wouldn't be,
So KDP
it
would
wouldn't
probably do
be,
the watermark, but something that is, say, for instance, the Italian market, if you will I see a watermark over there?
it would vary printer to printer. And so like most of our clients in Europe are actually small publishers, and they're printing not just one, but they'll print a short print run. So it's like a little, like they'll do like 100 or 1,000, a smaller print run. And actually, just on that topic is just personal advice for Americans. I really recommend doing the small print runs and using the kind of fulfillment that a lot of e-commerce companies do. It's a little more work, but if you want to get the best money on your book per book, it costs a lot less and you get a much better quality to go to one of the short run printers like bookprinters.com, which used to be McNaught & Dunn. You can get a much better deal, and then you can send it to a distribution warehouse. And like for there, you would send it to PSSC, the printers. Do you know what that stands for? It's in Michigan, and they can stock your books and send them, but your unit cost is going to be significantly lower. Mm-hmm. And you won't have all those intermediary fees, especially if you're selling it direct to your customer. I wouldn't use any third-party distributor for print or print on demand if you're selling direct to customer.
Interesting. Very good. Thank you so much for the advice. Now let's shift over to audiobooks, because you were really super excited to kind of share just a little bit more information.
Okay.
How does the royalty structure work there, and what are some fees that we can kind of expect?
Right. So that royalty is 20% on net. So the difference between the list price and the net price is net is just what we get.
Okay.
So it is just, and basically then the author gets 80% of all the money that comes in for audiobook. There's no limitation on pricing. I think the only thing that they've restricted is like one publisher uploaded thousands of books and like took up a lot of gigabyte space, and they weren't selling them. So we asked them to take them down until they were ready to sell them. But there's no limitation on size.
1,000 books. What's wrong with you?
Like, why did you put them there if you're not going to sell them? You just want to warehouse them in the cloud? No, please don't do that, because we pay for all those gigabytes. That's our investment. That's what our value to you is, like the digital storage space and all the pipes that we've built to all the different places. But there are a couple of things about Streetlib I really want to tell you about that are so awesome.
Let me hear it.
That you don't see in any other platform. Okay. And what excited me most, and this was like, yes, I'm in when I saw this, was they have a real-time daily sales dashboard built into the site. Nice. So you can see in real time where your books are selling, what country, what retailers, how much. So you can make marketing decisions immediately. And, I've been working on all these other platforms, and I can tell you that is really hard information to get, and definitely not on a daily basis. So I think it's going to be a real game changer, especially when we do add the print and the audio on top of that, where you can see where all your books are every day at any time.
This is very cool. We've burnt through our time so fast, Julie, and I anticipate that I would love to have you come back and share a little bit more of your experience about being in the publishing industry as a whole. But as we start to wrap up today's podcast, I'm going to ask you the question I ask every other guest, and that's going to be, what advice do you have for aspiring authors and self-publishers?
Yeah, I would say it's make friends with lots of other authors and publishers, because it is not a competitive field. I always tell people, you're not asking people for much money for your product. What you're really asking for is their time. And if authors recommend you, if people recommend you and you become part of a friendly community, you're going to sell more books. I mean, people who read books read lots of books. You're not competitors, you're friends. Promote each other. And it's a philosophy I call good literary citizenship. And it's fun, and you make friends, and it really does help everybody sell more books.
You've been listening to the Self-Publishing with Dale podcast. Visit us at selfpublishingwithdale.com for more information on how you can level up your self-publishing business. Also, check out our growing video-on-demand service, chock full of free and premium content, when you head over to theselfpublishinghub.com. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on your preferred podcasting platform. We thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.